I'm Michael Bain, and welcome to Triggered, coming to you from the heart of the Rocky Mountains in the secret hidden bunker in Dragon House Studios, and brought to you by Midway USA, just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Well, today we've got something really, really neat. What we have here is a gun that was born to run. You haven't ever seen this before. It is from Rock Island Armory, Arms Corps, and it is an STK100, 9mm 17+1 striker-fired gun that Arms Corps has been working on now for a couple of years. In fact, when I was in the Philippines in 2019, before the world ended in 2020, one of the things that they showed me on my last day at the range was a prototype of this gun. The primary engineer who had done the work on it, and Martin Tuason, who of course is the head of Arms Corps, they brought me the prototype gun and said, what do you like about it? What don't you like about it? So we ended up having a long conversation and working with the engineer on it, saying, you know, as a competitor myself, I would like to see this, I would like to see that. And I thought that was really, really pretty interesting. And then was able to go to the range with that gun, with the engineer, and with Martin, and put a lot of rounds through it. Because Martin planned for the STK100 to be a very important cog in the overall machinery of Rock Island Armory. And the specific reason, like I said, this gun is born to run. It is obviously striker-fired gun, but you're going to say, okay, a polymer frame striker-fired gun, right? Like all of them? As a matter of fact, no. It is a striker-fired gun, but this frame is aluminum. And it's an aluminum bonded to the chassis, which is a carbon steel chassis inside of the frame. It's a patent pending process. So what you have here is a bit heavier of a gun, but not so heavy that it's something you might not want to carry. Somebody asked me recently, said, why on earth would you want a gun that was heavier rather than lighter? And my response was, you never shot competition. A super light gun doesn't buy you much in competition because it's easy to swing past what you're shooting on. In fact, more and more, like USPSA shooting, we've seen heavier and heavier guns because they're a little more stable. They soak up the recoil. This guy here is 29.9 ounces. And let me give you a quick baseline there. A Glock 17 is about 22 ounces, a little more than 22 ounces. So it's that much heavier than a Glock. But that changes everything in the way the gun feels and the way the gun operates. And that was a key thing that I learned in the Philippines. When you're shooting this gun, the recoil is in effect negligible. I mean, I shoot a lot of 9mm, right? So I'm not going to go, oh my God, 9mm, it's got a lot of recoil. No, but in this gun, a couple of things soak it up. Number one, those extra ounces soak up the recoil. Number two, take a look here at the beaver tail. This is something that I talked to the engineers about. We want a beaver tail that does the best job of taking the force of recoil and spreading it all around your hand. The better the beaver tail is, the less you're going to feel the recoil. The undercut here, you can get a high grip on the gun. Once again, Martin Tuason was a competitor. And also, Arms Corps has a crack team. Some of the top shooters in the world are on Team Rock Island Armory Arms Corps. So this gun had a lot of their input as well. So when you're shooting it, you got the good grip. It feels comfortable. It feels very natural. And I was just running rounds through it yesterday, shooting an Arms Corps ball, as it was. I think 124 grain ball, 9mm. And you can run it fast, which is what you would expect from a competition gun. So obviously, you've got a rail here. And interestingly enough, there would be some competitors who would say, well, 29.9 ounces, if I want to run this in, I don't know, carry optics, or one of the USPSA divisions that will allow you to actually hang a flashlight or a laser on it, they'll hang a flashlight or a laser on it just to pick up those extra couple of ounces. But if you're using this as a self-defense gun, and I think it would be a superb one, you can mount your own light here. Now if you take a look at the slide, once again, slide's parkerized, it's cut with lightning cuts here on the top. It's also cut on both sides. So you got a slide that moves pretty quickly. But it doesn't feel snappy because of the ergonomics of the grip. The grip panel, all these elements here, this stippling here, once again, as you know from my talking about guns in the last few months, it drives me crazy to get a gun that the stippling isn't exactly right, because they've been stippling guns for a long time now. They should have it down. And in this case, Rock Island does have it down. It feels exactly right. It's not going to slip out of your grip. And it's hot up here in the mountains right now, so it's not going to slip out of your grip because your hands get icky sweaty. And with the beaver tail, the entire package shoots great. It comes, of course, which I think is kind of de rigueur for a gun in this class, with a cut already for a red dot sight. This is the plate that goes on top, and you can see the rear sight is integrated into that plate. The reason for that is, a little hard to tell here, but the reason for that is the rear sight goes all the way to the back of the frame here, which if you're going to shoot this with open sights, as competition guns, that is exactly what you want. You know, you want this flat plane in the rear, and there's your rear sight. So you pop it off. This particular gun is already set up for JP type red dot sights. This is a J-point. It happened to be a sight I had available right then and bolted it on. And I'm sure there'll be other additional sights added to it, but this one specifically is for J-point. Put that on and took it to the range because I don't know anything else to do with these guns except shoot them. And I was very impressed. I was very impressed because I had a really good feel for the gun from the Philippines. And then when you finally get the production gun in hand and everything feels the same, it feels like you thought that gun should be, it's a good thing. Hang on, when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the STK100. Welcome back to Triggered, brought to you by Midway USA, where we're talking about the brand new Rock Island STK100. You want to know about the trigger? On my Lyman digital gauge, what I got was 5.8. So a little bit more than 5 3/4 pounds. The trigger is, as you can see here, a little take up and then crisp. Also, as you can see here, reset, as you would expect, very, very short. It makes this gun easy to run if we're talking about running it in a competition context. The other thing you're asking me is magazines. You said it's a 17.1 magazine. Well, yeah. The magazine that came with this guy is one of the KCIs from Korea. And the reason you probably recognize that magazine is it was originally for a Glock. Korea's been making magazines for Glock for ages and ages and ages. I have maybe 20 that I use in a Glock 19 that have been my practice magazines. I have no problems with them whatsoever. So one of the things that makes really good sense about this gun, especially if you want to bring it into a competition context, is it has to have a magazine that is readily available and doesn't cost $75 a piece. Because in a competition context, a magazine is a consumable. You use them up. You drop them on the ground. You drop them on the ground a bunch of times. Eventually you break them. It's just one of the truisms. So, coming with a KCI magazine, I just wanted to show you this very quickly. Oops. This is a PMag for Glock. No problems at all. This is a Glock for Glock. a little bit tighter. You'd have to do some work on in the magazine well to have it drop clear. But the PMags, and this is PMag big stick, longer stick for an open gun. This particular one's blocked because of here we are in Colorado, but longer one, no problem. PMags work perfectly. Now, I cannot speak to some of the other aftermarket Glock magazines. I tried one and didn't have much luck with it. It was just a little tight. But the PMags, I have, I don't know, a couple of dozen PMags, and I tried it with 10 of them. I didn't see any problem at all running PMags in this gun, and obviously it comes with the KCI magazines. The great thing about the KCI magazines is they're pretty inexpensive. If you go to a blowout house like, I don't know, CDNN, you can get KCI magazines incredibly inexpensively. A couple other points I just wanted to show you, give you a comparison. This is my old open Glock, this frame off my old open Glock for USPSA Open. And I wanted to give you a little bit of a comparison here so you can see relative width of frame and give you a sense of how those match up. You know, I could say that the STK100 is essentially Glock 17 size, maybe a teeny tiny speck larger, but you can see for yourself how the frames match up there. Key thing on shooting the gun. As I said, it was fast. It's fast because J-Point's a good dot. It's not one of the big mirror dots, but J-Point has been making this dot forever. I believe it was made by Shield in England. And I use a lot of their products because I found them to be relatively indestructible. All in all, everything works pretty well. You've got your button for the magazine release here, and it's reachable. It's long enough to be reachable. You're going to have to turn, if you've got small hands, just a little. But in competition, that's not the first time I've done that. It comes apart pretty much just like a Glock. Question of here. I'm going to try this. I've never actually been able to do it on a Glock on camera. Here, these guys go down on the slide. Slide comes off. Inside here, your captive recoil spring on a metal rod. Barrel. That's as far as you need to go, obviously, to do basic cleaning. But you can see, pretty standard when we're looking at striker-fired guns, this whole system. I want you to take a look here at the frame. This is obviously the carbon steel chassis that sits down in the aluminum grip frame. But you see extended set of rails here. You know, these rails go forward and come into this, out of this chassis about twice what you would normally see on a striker-fired gun. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. Another thing that I see, and I'm not exactly sure why, although I think it's a metal chassis is the reason, I'm going to ask Martin Tuason, is where you would normally expect to find pins, they're screws. So they screw in as opposed to being tapped in just as pins. An interesting point. I think that's very much because of the metal chassis. So it goes back together exactly the way you would expect, simply. Barrel. And recoil spring there, on, and it's one of the great things about the whole modern striker-fired systems is they're so easy to maintain. Even I keep mine clean, which is really pretty amazing. Okay, all in all, if I want to round this up, this gun is born to go to a match. It's born to race. And the great thing is, as near as I can tell from my own shooting of it, it's a gun you can take out of the box and take it to that match. So Martin, great job. I am looking forward to shooting this gun in carry optics, the next USPSA match I go to, and I'm glad that we're having matches again. When Triggered returns, one more trick pony to show you. This week's Triggered is brought to you by Midway USA. Just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Taurus USA, designed to protect. Rock Island Arms Core, solid as a rock. And Franklin Armory, making some of the most innovative guns in America. Welcome back to Triggered, and now we're going to jump over to an entirely different universe. Check this guy out. This is a Ruger GP100, 2.5-inch barrel fiber optic front sight, small grips, this really great dark blue, 357 Magnum, and it's the newest addition to my collection of GP100s. This one is also from Lipsy's distributors, who are terrible enablers when it comes to specialized guns. I say I collect GP100s because that way it sounds more, I guess, responsible, adult, than to say that I just accumulate stacks of GP100s over the years, and they all happen to be different, and I kind of like all of them. But there was a specific reason that I wanted to get this gun. And that's years ago, kind of before USPSA, IPSC, I was certain, mostly because I read it in the gun magazines, that the Smith & Wesson K-frame, their middle-size frame, Model 19, with a 2.5-inch barrel and a round butt, was easily the greatest carry gun on earth. It took me forever to save up enough money to finally lay my hands on one of those short barrel K-frames, because everybody thought they were the greatest quote-unquote fighting revolver in the world. And they were super guns. Also, I had later one of these stainless steel ones, I think a Model 66. But to me, you would look at them and they had an elegance that you didn't necessarily see in any other snubby. You know, we've talked about elegance in handguns before. If I close my eyes and visualize the perfect revolver, I'm going to see a Colt 1860 Army. But when you look at the Smith & Wesson Model 19 2.5-inch, not only was it a great gun to shoot if you shot 38 specials in it rather than really hot 357s, but it had an elegance that a lot of revolvers of that time period didn't necessarily have. This GP100 has that same sort of elegance. To me, the shorter barrel, I have a number of 3-inch GP100s, but the 2.5-inch barrel makes a big difference. The fiber optic front sight and the adjustable rear makes it actually pretty useful. It's got the weight of a GP100, which means it's going to soak up some of even the hot 357 loads to it. You get 6 rounds in it instead of, say, 5 rounds. In SP101, it has a super smooth trigger pull. Whoever actually put this gun together knew exactly how to put this gun together, because it simply works as a gun. And I thought, well, if I don't get it, 2 years from now, one of my friends will say, why didn't you buy that 2.5-inch GP100 when you had a chance to get it, you idiot? That's why you don't have a CZ Scorpion, because you didn't jump when you should. In any case, if you're going to be carrying a revolver, this is an excellent revolver to carry in terms of a self-defense gun. Yes, it's going to be a little heavier than the snub. It's going to have to be in a holster. But on the other hand, that's going to make it a lot easier for you to shoot. And that's very important with those hot rounds. So we've gone from a groundbreaking competition pistol to a Ruger that looks amazingly like that great Smith & Wesson Model 19. I think we've covered a lot of ground here. And I want to tell you one other quick thing I thought was really neat. As you know, we're sponsored by Midway USA. Just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. You almost can't say Midway USA without actually saying that. Well, we talked a little bit about Midway's purchase of M1 carbines. Last week, those carbines went on sale. They went on sale at 9 o'clock in the morning to people who had been on the list quickly as they could get them. 2 hours later, they were all gone. So, if you missed them, sorry. At least I didn't miss this GP100. I'm Michael Bain. As I said, we're sponsored by Midway. You can find us on michaelbain.tv. You can also find us on YouTube. And in either place, be sure to hit that red subscribe button. We'll see you next week.